As long as you're being entertained.
Did you figure out this shutting off problem?
Yes.
It was just, it needs more battery than I thought it would. And it's got an hour time limit.
Right. Perfect.
All right, guys. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that's in the news recently that has to do with correlation studies. And it's really kind of nifty in general, but I would think, especially if there's anybody interested in psychology and stuff like that. But let me first start off with any questions from homework. Yeah.
I just wanted to give you a tip. That's just about as far as you can go for the thing to hear me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't care about me. In fact, I'd rather not be seen a lot. So I don't like to see me teaching. It's just weird. I just want to get the board as much of the board as I can. Any questions from homework? Somebody was asking specifically.
On 1.4, can you show us how you do
1.4? Where are we at?
What section?
1.4, number 4. Oh, okay. Blah, 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 blah. So they kind of set you up here a little bit, and you can kind of catch them when they do this. They tell you that typical surveys involve 500 to 2,000 people. And whenever you look at, for example, Gallup.com, did I mention Gallup.com yet? If you look at there and you look down at the bottom of the screen, they show you how they collected their data. It's normally somewhere between 800 and 1,500 people that they talk to. That's a normal size for a survey. So they kind of set you up for it. And then they say, okay, this lady, she sent out stuff and she got a large sample, 4,500 replies. You're like, ooh, that's a big old sample. And she sent out 100,000 questionnaires to various women's groups. And she's trying to get a feel for, did they tell you? Let's see. All right, they didn't really tell you what she's trying to get a feel for, but women in love, the cultural revolution in progress. Are her conclusions likely to be valid? What kind of problems could there be with what she finds?
What about women who don't belong to women's groups?
All right, so the women who don't belong to women's groups, could they be involved in this? No. The fact that it's a large sample, does that really help?
No.
There's one other major problem with this, and it's not quite right to say that you got a small percentage back. You certainly could argue that, but what's worse than that? Who are the people that sent them back?
People that have a biased opinion about it.
Yes, what's it officially called? What's that officially called? You don't have to send it back. Yes, voluntary response sample. So not only is it leaving out women that aren't in women's groups or not attending that time they get the survey, it's also relying on people to actually fill it out and turn it back in. Voluntary response sample. And the people that turn those in are normally people with strong opinions, and very often the strong opinions are in one direction, or weighted in one direction. How's that? Okay. Any other questions from chapter 1?
16 on page 10.
16 page what?
10.
16 and 1, 2. If you got data from the Federal Trade Commission, do you think that that data would be biased or unbiased?
Right, because they want to sell the cigarettes.
Okay, let me say this again. So do you guys know what the Federal Trade Commission is? What's it in charge of? There you go. Cool. Right? You have to know that much? No. You have to just know that it's a government level thing. It's not based only on cigarettes. It's not the federal cigarette. That would be funny if we had that. Not funny really, but
Would be a
weird. Federal Trade Commission is not beholden to anybody. It just analyzes data. So it would not be biased. Okay, cool. Yeah, they don't profit. They're paid. They're a government agency. They're not going to get more money if they go one way or the other, supposedly. Right? And there's a few of you guys out there going, "This back to lobbyists are big time," but
would be fairly unbiased.
yes, I would say it'd be unbiased. right? Yeah.
24.
But is that okay? I mean, that's if you get data from the Census Bureau, I'm going to say that that's unbiased. The controversies, do we know any controversy about the Census Bureau, how they get data? There's controversy about all the people they don't count, right? And before it used to be focused on homeless people. Nowadays it's more focused on illegal immigration, right? But there's a lot of controversy, and there's a lot of controversy over how to apply statistics to try to infer things about the people they can't quite get numbers for, right? It depends on which political party you're in as far as how to infer things or not. Okay. But still, the data that I get from the Census Bureau, I'm going to trust. It's data they've observed, data they've collected directly from observation, so I'm going to trust it. Federal Trade Commission, they're going to do one way or the other. They don't care. They get paid either way. They really don't care. They just want to see what it is, what the truth is, and put it out there. Sorry, so what's, any other questions? Yeah.
24. On 1.
1, 2, 24.
No.
Mendel's genetics. Let me see, blah, 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 blah. So according to the theory, 25% of the offspring peas should have yellow pods. Somebody taken chemistry, anything, biology? Ever heard of Gregory Mendel? You've done those, I think he's the one that's responsible for those. Here are the parents.
The matrix?
Yes. Not the I know Kung Fu matrix, but the, right? And then you talk about what the offspring might look like, the dominant traits, the recessive traits, and all that kind of business. If you don't know any of that, you don't have to. Just look at the numbers. The theory said 25%. He took a sample and got 26%. Would you go, Mendel, you're wrong? Or what would you say? Yeah, it's not a significant difference. That is close enough to go, holy crap, dude, good job. Yep.
Is the significant difference 5%? Like, I read something about confidence level.
Okay, and I'm glad you said that. A probability of less than 5% is significant, right? That shows like if something happened that had a less than 5% chance of happening, that would be a significant event. That would be something like, whoa, and that's not something I'd see all the time. It doesn't mean the same thing as a 5% difference in probabilities. See, how far apart, we talked a little bit about this before. Remember that about the gas prices? What would you think? I can't remember exactly the numbers I used, but is 319 far away from 320? You can't tell me, because you don't know how to measure distance in that case. They left out a number, right?
And 9/10.
What's that?
319 and 9/10, or 219 and 9/10.
I know, yeah, exactly. Good point. The 9/10. For example, like 4.5 billion light years. Is that far? Is that billion? 4. No, not billion. 4.5 light years. I mean, that's the closest star. So with stars, that's pretty close. But in general, I'm like, that's huge. It's a big distance, right? So what I'm trying to say is, I don't know unless they give me a little more information. I can't tell how big of a spread is significant. But 25% versus 26%. No, that's right there. That's right next to each other. That's pretty, that's that insignificant difference. He's spot on. If he got, he predicted 25% and he got 40%, I feel pretty confident saying, you got to work on that, right? In the middle, though, it's really hard for us right now. That's why they're not going to give you a problem that has a number in the middle. That would be evil. 25 and 30%. How do you feel about that? Oh, well, I don't know, dude. I need more information. And that's what we're going to learn actually in chapter 7 and 8, is how to tell how far apart things have to be to show significant difference. How you guys feeling with that? So very soon, in chapter 3, we're going to actually develop the two numbers that we use a lot. There'll be one more number later, but the two numbers that actually give me the complete picture, where I expect things to be and how far away those things are from that. Right? Any other questions? Okay. Yeah.
I'm not sure which page it's on because I was still looking at, but section 1.3, number, I think it's 4. There was just the last part of the question, because I wasn't sure of what the practical implications
Oh, okay.
It's pretty straightforward, but I just.
A practical implication, like if they said, if they suddenly said, if you bought broccoli from this store, 90% of the people that bought broccoli from this store died. A practical implication of that would be, I'm not going to buy freaking broccoli from that store. Right? So, I mean, that's just to give you an example. It's kind of an extreme example, but it's a very, so what could you do with that data? Practical implication. What does that mean for me in everyday life? So here you've got 877 surveyed executives. 45% of them would not hire somebody with a typographic error on a job application, period. Right? No matter how good you are is what I'm getting from that. First off, is that a statistic or a parameter? Parameter would mean that it has to be something you got when you studied the whole population, and this actually twice says two words that are important: sample and survey, right? If I'm talking about a sample, it must be a statistic. If I'm talking about a population, it must be a parameter, right? So that's kind of nice. It doesn't happen often enough in math where the words have the same letter that go together. That's pretty damn nice. What is the population then? And this is where I get people say, how could I tell? But you can't. No, careful. That we just said, the 877 was a sample.
All executives.
I love it. Replace the number with the word all. Basically, most of the time that'll get you through, right? They surveyed 877 executives. Well, where they picked those 877 from? From all executives. Now, they didn't tell me that they were like paper company executives. They didn't tell me anything like that, right? So I can't be any more specific with my population. It must be all executives. You guys see that? So if I survey 38 Grossmont students, that's my sample, 38 Grossmont students. What's my population? All Grossmont students. I love it. Sweet. Blah, 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 blah. Okay. Any other questions? All right. So if you don't have a book yet, please get that book. Don't forget, I think I put the homework up online, right? And you can always come to my class, my office, as long as there's not too many of you guys, and ask for some copies or something, but I'm not going to go crazy. There's like 10 of you. No, that's too many. Yep.
So I'm confused because if the book isn't required but we need it, then...
No. You had an option. You could either get the book in physical form or you can get the book online.
Okay, so I feel lost.
I understand. And that's why I made it an option. I am not ready to go totally to my math lab because some people love it, but I found actually more people seem to not like it.
Yeah.
Right? So, but I wanted to make it an option because it actually, if you use it correctly, it's actually really good. I just wasn't ready to go that way because I'm with you. I got my first little Kindle book on my phone. And I kind of like it, but at the same time, I miss my, I'm an avid reader. I eat books hard. So I like to have them here. I don't want to eat my phone. So I don't know if you guys can relate to that at all. Okay, so I want to knock chapter 1 out. We need to get into chapter 2. So there's only one section left. The last section we did was section 1.4, and that was basically what I try to call a common sense section, really. Just be careful. I always get people that don't quite understand the directions in that section when they're talking about use critical thinking and all that kind of business, or the develop an alternate or correct conclusion. That's what they want. Don't tell me why what they say is wrong. Come up with a better conclusion. Right? Explain what's going on. Yeah.
So will we not always take notes on every section, even if we have homework for that section? Like some things we took notes on 1.3, some we had homework.
Yeah, there's really, in section 1.4, there's really not much else I could say about it. To tell you honestly, I mean it's pretty straightforward. It's got a little percentage and fraction and decimal section, but that you guys should blow that out of the water. Beyond that, there's really not much else to say.
I thought you were going to start on correlation and causation versus causation today.
Oh, I did want to mention something, one thing about it.
Okay.
Because I'm going to get into section 1.5. Has anybody heard the study about the whole birds of a feather flock together?